Welcome everyone to the 2015 5-Hour Energy 301 at New Hampshire race review, and SUPEREEVEEMASTER is here to get you all caught up on what's been going on from today's race to what happened a week ago at Kentucky. So where shall I start, as I'm actually still a little unprepared? There we go. So let's start, as I always do. Well, actually, I almost went into my pre-race notes. I first got to give my thoughts about the race. So to me, I'm still kind of debating with myself on whether this race was an average or below average race for New Hampshire, but not just for New Hampshire, but also just for the season overall. Race, this is race 19, so this race kicks off the second half of the season. And to me, I think that I'm slowly starting to head towards below average now, and I think to me, like to me, it wasn't like a huge surprise about the racing today, because to me, it wasn't like terrible racing, but it just like what I kind of wished would happen. And the thing is, I wasn't wishing for, I would say, like too much. I just kind of rather had seen a few. I just wish that there were a couple things, such as, for example, sort of, I don't know, like the battles for the lead. Like New Hampshire overall is just a hard track to pass. And to me, the only way that you're going to create a lot of passing is if you like raise the banking like 20, like 20 or even like 15 degrees. But to me, if you do that, I think that takes away a lot of character of the racetrack. And so to me, I'm not going to be one who says that. New Hampshire, for me personally, is a track that I wish there was just one date, not 2 dates. Because to me, I feel like that the only time I've really ever got excited and said like this was a good Richmond race was last September's Richmond race. But to me, that was, I think what helped that race was because there was more drama and just overall more excitement, more intensity, more action. And I think the reason why that was the case was because of the new chase format, where you have to go out there and win. You have to go out there, pass as many drivers as you can. And am I involved doing something risky? Am I involved being a little aggressive? And to me, in the July races, regardless of what chase format you have, there's a lot less of that. And to me, I think that probably what makes it maybe a little worse is that, okay, so this is the first race coming back from Kentucky, and if you remember, or in case you did not know, Kentucky used a new rules package that decreased downforce by quite a bit. I think it was like 30% less downforce or something like that. And basically, there was twice the amount of green flag passes overall throughout the entire field. There was more than double the amount of green flag passes overall throughout the whole entire field, not just for the lead. And there was a new track record for lead changes, 22 lead changes, which beat the previous record of 19 lead changes back in 2011, but it also beat the amount of lead changes by a lot over last year, which was like 9. So to me, I think that coming off of like that race with that rules package, and now returning to the rules package that we've used for every single race before Kentucky, with the exception of the Daytona 500, that race used the 2014 rules package, I believe. While this rules package has definitely created more passing, just a little bit, it's throughout the whole entire field. It's not happening up front, because what's happening up front is that lead changes are actually down at most of these races that have used the rules package. And because most NASCAR fans are not watching to see who's running in 25th position. No, we want to see battles up front, up for the lead, or at least that's what I think most of us NASCAR fans want to see. And so to me, when lead changes are down and it's overall just hard to pass in the lead, to me, that's what doesn't make it particularly exciting, regardless of whether there are more passes throughout the middle section of the field. So that's that. So to me, I think it was the combination of the rules package, decreasing lead changes, and overall just New Hampshire not able to, in my opinion, produce exciting, intense races. I think that's what kind of makes me that's what makes me think this race was probably below average, in my opinion. And to me, I think that there were a couple. I think other than the racing, there was also the obvious attendance issue, and attendance is something that I do not really talk a whole lot about, like in my race reviews, just because we are currently kind of in that era of where many tracks their attendance is down. So to me, it's not worth bringing it up every single race or whatever. Even if there are races such as Talladega or Martinsville where attendance was actually up this year compared to previous years. To me, attendance at New Hampshire was okay. Here's an interesting thing. So about a year or two ago, New Hampshire took down some of its turn 3 and turn 4 seats, reducing it from like a couple thousand to where it is today. And to me, even and one thing I noticed was that this weekend banners were placed all in the turn 4 grandstand, which also eliminates I think a couple hundred seats as well. And to me, watching this race, I think that it was pretty obvious that yes, there were empty seats, but to me, it's kind of interesting, strange, a little sad, and probably not good that even though we have taken away seats, we don't have a sellout crowd, and B, it looks like that the attendance is actually worse compared to the July race a year ago or even a couple years ago. So to me, I think that because of the attendance and because the racing hasn't particularly been exciting, especially at New Hampshire, in my opinion, I think those numbers are going to continue to decline, and it might end up getting to the point of where over the next few years, there's going to be an announcement that says New Hampshire is going to give up one of its 2 dates because of attendance. I would personally love to see that, and I think I already just said before about how I would rather see just one race at New Hampshire because I think that like one Cup race at New Hampshire is plenty. It's enough in my opinion. And to me, I think that one way that you help grow, or in this case, regrow a sport, is by making your games exciting, but also making your places more exciting. And to me, I think that there are just some racetracks on the schedule either don't deserve a day or don't deserve 2 dates, because to me, the racing is not particularly the most exciting, or it's not guaranteed of a great show. I think that I don't think I'm really going to name like the tracks that could give us a good show, but to me, I think that there are racetracks out there in the country and in the world I think NASCAR could probably work out a deal for, and I think that I would like to see one of those new dates at this new track replace a Loudon date. But that's just my opinion. So overall, that's my thoughts, and now I'm going to go into the pre-race notes. So one of the first notes I have, or actually it's the first note, and I think that this was announced on Monday. Josh Wise parts ways with Premium Motorsports. In Premium Motorsports, it used to be Phil Parsons Racing, but Jay Robinson, which has owned a couple of teams in the past, but really with not a whole lot of success. Purchased Phil Parsons Racing after the Coca-Cola 600 this year, I believe. And Josh Wise becomes the second driver to part ways with the team. Brendan Gaughan did it last week, a couple days before Kentucky. And there were 2 replacements. Reed Sorensen is now in the 62 car, and he was also in the 62 car last week at Kentucky. And chances are, I have a feeling that he might be in that car for the rest of the season. And Timmy Hill is in the 98. And I think that overall, I think that especially with 2 drivers leaving, but just overall the really lackluster and sometimes not being able to make races, I have a feeling that sometime in the next few years, I just think that Premium Motorsports is going to be gone, unless they get some serious help, like an alliance or something, or just maybe a more talented driver. That's my only way of seeing that I can see this team lasting like several years. And speaking of drivers, Derek White made his Sprint Cup Series debut driving in the number 33 for Hillman Circle Sport LLC, which stands for Limited Liability Company. And I think that this is the same team that Landon Castle races in. And I think even though this did not make like big news, Derek White is the first non-born American since Marcus Ambrose, who who stopped racing in NASCAR at the end of last season to race in the Sprint Cup Series. I think that there were some reports saying that he's Canadian, and there were some that were saying that he was a Native American heritage, or it could be both. So I just want to get that out of the way. And there was also more news. I think this was announced on Wednesday. Casey Mears will return to Germain Racing for 2016. They just they extended the contract, and now 2016 will be Casey Mears' sixth or seventh full-time season with the team. And he's been with that team since late 2010, where beforehand they were a Star and Park team, and Max Pappas was getting the team for finishes, and Casey Mears was actually in search of a ride after going through a couple of rides. And personally, and when I first heard this news, I was very happy for Casey Mears, just because one of the reasons they said is because Casey Mears has been a very vital part in keeping an improvement and growth in the team and success. And to me, if you don't believe me, I looked up where he was in points in his previous years with his team as of race 18, because last week's race at Kentucky was race 18. And here's what I noticed. From 2011 to 2015, 31st in points, 27th in points, 24th in points, 23rd in points, and now he's 20th in points. And 20th in points on some chase grids is actually the last position on the bubble. Like on some TV shows, they'll actually show you a top 20 and not a top 16. And so in that case, Casey Mears would be the last driver they would show. And to me, it's been, I think, since his time at Richard Childress Racing, which was 2009, that he's been around 20 in points or even inside of it. So to me, for him and that team, I think it's very impressive, and I'm very happy for that team. And maybe if the streak continues into next year, who knows? They could be someone who could maybe contend for a championship, especially if they finish off the season with strong top 20, top 15 runs, and maybe even a win. That's possible. And so so I'll be very interested to see where Casey Mears, how well Casey Mears will be in 2016. And who knows? Overall, my thoughts on Casey Mears as a driver, I just think that Casey Mears, I think that sometimes there's that debate on whether it is the driver or the equipment. Sometimes people will say well, this driver isn't performing, this driver isn't performing very well. Is it the driver or is it the team? I think in the case of Casey Mears, he's just not the most talented driver, regardless of what car you give it. He's been with Chip Ganassi, he's been with Rick Hendrick, he's been with Richard Childress, which are three big household name teams that are, to me, pretty good every single season, and yet he really just could not really perform that well with the team. And most of the time, he would finish the season off in 18th place in points, but for the most part. So I think Casey Mears, he's just not the most talented driver to me. And when I think about him the most, I think of two things. One, his first career win in the 2007 Coca-Cola 600, and that was a fuel mileage gamble. Sorry. And him getting into a fight with Marcus Ambrose after the 2014 Spring Richmond race last year in April, where Marcus Ambrose threw a big punch at Casey Mears, and so those are the two things I think about him the most. And to me, if Casey Mears is going to win a race, because I don't think he has the speed or the talent to do so, I think that he's going to have to win a race based on strategy, like he did when he won his first career race, whether it is staying out or whether it's a fuel mileage gamble. To me, that is how I see Casey Mears winning his next career race. And I think that if he wins his next career race, whether it is next weekend or in a year or two, he might actually break Bill Elliott's streak of longest gap between wins, which Bill Elliott's streak is 226 races. I think it's like that. In Casey Mears, his last win was May of 2007, and now look at this, July of 2015. That's about as long as Bill Elliott's. But I think the thing to remember here is that Bill Elliott, throughout most of his career, the schedule was not 36 races. Often the schedule was 26 races during his time in some ways. But anyway, uh, also, there was a lot of big media attention on this package, on the rules package at Kentucky, which, like I said, increased passing from last year and also brought a track record of lead changes, etc. Uh, it was praised a lot by the drivers and the fans. There was even this poll that I actually participated in that had like over like 600 votes, and 90% of them was a yes answer on did you like the new package, and and NASCAR CEO Brian France made a very interesting, sort of peculiar statement, and maybe not, and maybe a statement that someone will look at and say like, "Man, what?" And basically, it was like, while I did like the improvement, he wants to see. He still thinks that the racing can definitely be better, which I agree with. Which I agree with him on that. But to me, he went on to go say he wants to talk about he wants pack racing, and now and when I listened to his interview or read his interview, whatever actually happened, um, I don't remember if he was talking exactly about like every single racetrack or if it was just like mile and a half racetracks or just certain other tracks. But to me, like if Ryan France wants pack racing everywhere, I don't think that's a good idea because I don't think it's possible. Like pack racing at Bristol, pack racing at Martinsville, I don't think it could happen. Even like pack racing at like the high speeds of like Atlanta, Texas, Kentucky. Like to me, I just think that like the way those tracks are, I don't think that you're able to do that. Uh, to me, however, I think that look at like to me like you're watching this on YouTube, and maybe if you're watching this, how about you pause this video, unless you're watching it live, and go watch a NASCAR race, and go find like a NASCAR race from like the 70s at a track like Michigan or Ontario. And to me, what you'll see there is that you'll see this like small pack of like 5-10 cars all together. Lead changes are constantly happening. I think that is the reason that Brian France might be talking about. And in that case, for high-speed tracks at California Auto Club, to be more specific, Michigan, even Indianapolis, I would say yes. I think that to me, we can. It will be nice for those tracks to see more drafting, to see more pack light racing, like pack like racing, that like not like pack racing, but just racing that is like pack racing. So to me, I think that's what Brian Francis is talking about. And in that case, I say yes. And to me, if you want even more recent pack racing at the tracks like those, go watch IndyCar footage of of this year's IndyCar race at Auto Club, which was about a month ago, as of this being uploaded to YouTube or live streamed, and you will see, and you will definitely see pack racing from lap 1 to lap 250. And even though Indy cars are totally different than NASCAR, I think it's still possible, and I think that we definitely should do that. So in some ways, I do partly agree with what Brian France is saying. Also, there were a couple of warnings: Biffle, Mears, Alex Kennedy, and Brett Moffitt, and if after New Hampshire, uh, if there's an announcement that at least one of these 4 teams get another warning, consecutive warnings result in a P1 penalty. And a P1 penalty could mean last pit selection, time taken off in practice and qualifying, and I think that there's a couple of other things that he could probably look up. And also, entering this weekend, the last 11 races have been won by 11 different winners, and the streak did continue today with Kyle Busch winning. We'll get into that in just a second. And now onto the weekend. Kyle Larson wins the first practice, and entering this weekend, Kyle Larson actually, this is one of Kyle Larson's best career racetracks. Now he's only raced twice, but in both of those races, it was a 2nd place and a 3rd place. And also to round off the top 10, Kyle Busch, Jamie McMurray, Carl Edwards, Brad Keselowski, Casey Kane, David Reagan, AJ Allmendinger, Kevin Harvick, and Brian Blaney. And also, there was this very interesting situation in the first practice where Martin Truex Jr. cuts a tire on the backstretch, leaving pit road, and instead of Truck pushing him to pit road or to the garage, a truck came, but it had members of his, but it had pit crew members, his pit crew members, changing the tire right there in the middle of the racetrack on the backstretch. So that was interesting. And then later that day on Friday, Carl Edwards captured his first career pole with Joe Gibbs, but also his first career pole since November of 2013 at Texas. And then to round off the rest of the top 12, Joey Logano, David Reagan, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, Casey Kane, Brett Keselowski, Jamie McMurray, and Kevin Harvick. And there were two notables. Landon Castle almost made the final round, driving for Hillman Circle Sport Racing, I believe, starting 13th. And Ryan Blaney, after missing the past two races because of rain, because in case you don't know, if qualifying gets these days, if qualifying gets rained out and there are go homers, whoever makes the least amount of race attempts, you do not make the show. And I think I talked a little bit about this in the past 2 weekends, talking about how I really do not like this rule, just because I think that if you're a go homer, it should be based on speed. But thankfully, qualifying was not rained out. Even though there were overcast conditions, qualifying was not rained out, and Ryan Blaney got a decent qualifying position. And then moving on to Saturday, Kevin Harvick was the fastest in second practice, and then behind him, Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, Matt Kenseth, Jamie McMurray, Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, and Ryan Newman. And then between practice sessions, or actually during the second practice, there was this interesting situation and sort of a hi, we meet again between Jeff Gordon and Cliff Bowyer when Jeff Gordon was pulling out of pit road and Cliff Bowyer was heading onto the racetrack. Gordon came out and Gordon came out right in front of Cliff Bowyer. The two of them made contact, and neither had to go to the back of the car. And neither had to go to the back of the cars. But this is the second. This is the second week in a row that we've had a situation happen in the garage, because what happened was that, even though I don't think I said it last week, in my Kentucky race review, there was a situation where I think it was, it might have been like Cole Witt hit the back bumper of Sam Horse Jr. as they were exiting the garage and on the pit road, and Sam Horse Jr. had to stop because Danica Patrick was coming in, and also that race, there weren't as many garage openings in that race as well. And also Carl Edwards won the final practice, which was rain shortened with 13 minutes remaining. Kevin Harvick, Ryan Blaney, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Clint Bowyer, Brett Keselowski, Kyle Larson, Matt Kenseth, and Joey Logano. That rounded off the rest of the top 10. And last thing I have here is 60% chance of rain as of Saturday night. And while there was not any rain whatsoever in this race, it did get close. If the race was like an hour or two longer, or the race had started an hour or two longer, rain would have been an issue. And actually, towards the end of the race, I think all the fans were told to get out of the racetrack and head home because of a thunderstorm. And anyway, that is my all of my previous notes. And now, in case you forgot or did not watch the race, here is what went down. So green flag, anytime it was the lead car always chose the outside. So Carl Edwards chose the outside and cleared Joey Logano before turn number 1, and then Kyle Busch got himself into second place, and then before lap number 5, there was this close moment between Jimmy Johnson and Denny Hamlin just running outside the top 5. The two of them made contact coming out of turn number 4. There was a little bit of tire smoke, but didn't really affect their days. Hamlin started sliding back. And then Kyle Busch got by Edwards by around lap number 20, after Carl Edwards got stuck behind Timmy Hill. And actually Timmy Hill, he was I think that he was by far the slowest car of the day. And the thing is, I think that he was possibly the slowest car in the majority of the practice sessions, and especially in qualifying, where he was like 7 miles per hour off because of car issues. He got into the show based on provisional owner's points. Anyway, caution number 1, debris in turn number 1, and then on lap number 23, the top drivers stay out, but everyone else comes down the road, and by top drivers more specifically, it was the top 8: Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, Logano, Kurt Busch, Kenseth, Reagan, Johnson, and McMurray. Restart, lap number 27. Kurt Busch moved into second place, so now he is behind Kyle Edwards, behind Kyle Busch. Lap number 33. The first driver with pressure tires was Brad Keselowski, who was in 8th place after restarting 9th. And basically, what this race proved once again is that track position is really crucial, regardless of whether you have 4 tires or not. Not 4 tires, regardless of whether you have pressure tires or not. Track position really pays off, which is one of the reasons why I thought we might have a new winner, because if someone were to have stayed out with even like 20 laps to go, let's just say Casey Mears, he might be able to hold on to the lead and get a win. And then Denny Hamlin continued to slide backwards, but also Jimmy Johnson as well. And actually, at one point, all 4 Hendrick drivers were 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. And also at this point, Gordon and Jr. were starting to make up ground. And then by lap 46, Brad Keselowski was finally going somewhere. By lap number 50, Kyle Busch had over a 2-second lead over his brother Kurt. And then Brad Keselowski continued to gain positions. Johnson kept on sliding back, and actually at one point was holding up a bunch of drivers, and Newman almost spun Kyle Larson out. And then by lap 61, Brad Keselowski moved into second place, and Kevin Harvick also started to make gains towards the front, and he was on the same cycle as Keselowski was. And then Brad Keselowski passed Kyle Busch by lap 66. And then a couple laps later, Keselowski had over a 1-second lead. So Keselowski, it seems like that if you get Keselowski up front, he'll be gone. No one can catch Keselowski. And then by lap 75, the highest part-time driver was Ryan Blaney. But then Ryan Blaney would have some trouble, which I'll get into in just a second. Lap number 76, Kevin Harvick was. It was said that Harvick was the fastest driver on the racetrack, and that was particularly true, especially on the final run. But the thing is, he needed more time, or just did not have the car in the final run. And then on lap 77, green flag pit stops, starting with the drivers that stayed out on the first caution. And then there were a couple of lead changes. So Brad Keselowski first gave up the lead to Dale Earnhardt Jr. Junior pits a lap later, or 2 laps later. Gordon takes the lead, leads a lap, and then once he came down pit road, AJ Allmendinger now led. Caution number 2 on lap number 97 for debris. And this had nothing to do with the debris. But Alex Bowman, I think, maybe I think possibly either his right front tire cut down, or the brakes were overheating. But regardless, all of a sudden a fire was emerging from Alex Bowman's car. And the thing is, at first they just changed 4 tires, and I think that they maybe tried to use a fire extinguisher maybe, but I can't exactly remember. And then as Alex Bowman started to leave, it actually got even worse here, and a huge flame erupted. Alex Bowman got out of his car, and then came to a stop right by the fire truck, and then the fire was put out. This, for some reason, this is kind of probably the thing that I might remember the most about this race in a year from now and beyond. And then while this was going on, there were a few drivers that did stay out, but then the drivers that did stay out, like Eddie Allmendinger, he did come down the road, and then we had a restart, lap 108. Brad Keselowski leads, and then 2 laps later. So our top 10 at this point is Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick, Kasey Kahne, Ryan Blaney, Joe Logano, and AJ Allmendinger. And also, this was also around the time in the race where Landon Castle, who did almost make the final round, was kind of at his peak position, riding around 15th, actually putting a little pressure on the 2-time winner and the Xfinity winner, Denny Hamlin. And then a couple laps later, the third caution came out, and I think that it was for debris. Pit stops, as most of the leaders stay out once again, and Clint Bowyer made an extended pit stop, and that would be the first of many troubles, or a few more troubles, and then actually we would later find out that that wasn't most of the leaders. It was actually the majority of the field stayed out, because the thing is, when we got the restart on um, Um, wow! I actually didn't realize that I didn't write this in my notes. I think we restarted on lap 122, and so then in that case, if we did do that, if we restarted on lap 122, the top 19 actually all stayed out, with Bain and Edwards 20th and 21st, the first drivers with fresher tires, and like I said before, track position is really crucial, and to me that really did not help any driver that came up, any driver that did come down the road. It really did not help almost at all. And then Ryan Blaney, this would be the first of two troubles. So first, Ryan Blaney drops spots, and then he comes down to the road like a lap later, because he thinks that he has a vibration, or more specifically a loose wheel. And the thing is, he was running in like the 8th position before this was happening, and he was doing a nice job in staying there. He was not trying. He was not dropping positions at all. I think that he was maybe catching some drivers. And then 1 lap later, penalty, too fast, entering the pits. And to me, that would put Ryan Blaney in a deep in a hole, where he would not really be able to recover throughout the rest of the day. And then, many laps later, Harvick started to close on Kyle Busch on lap 158 for second position. While Bragazowski is still a leader. And then Kyle Busch was reporting a vibration like a lap later, but then he would catch a lucky break, because the thing is, everyone had to make green flag pit stops again on lap 171. And then once again, another penalty, and this time it was from a driver that I don't think many, especially with how good he's been running the season, would have expected. Jimmie Johnson, too fast exiting the pits, and overall, Jimmie Johnson just had a very disappointing day, especially for being a 3-time winner at this racetrack, I believe. And meanwhile, while all of this was happening, there were a couple drivers that were staying out, hoping to catch a caution. And they would catch a caution, most notably Logano, Kenseth, Edwards, and Menard. Caution number 4 came out for the rear on lap 189. Whoa, I sort of dropped my notebook right there. And then the drivers that stayed out did come down the road, but to me, it really did not help, just because there were still many drivers that were still on the lead lap, and so it didn't benefit like that much. And then lap 194, Kevin Harvick and Keselowski were battling, and the Harvick actually took the lead from Keselowski on the bottom, restarting on the bottom. And then on lap 197, Paul Menard and Casey Kane battling. I think around for like 10th or 12th position, make a little contact. Menard's tire goes flat, and the thing is, when they come around in turn 3 and 4, he actually cannot make the pits. And so the thing is, and it's because of that he goes around the racetrack once again, and then later on, as he tried to come up the road, he spun, and I think stopped for like a second or two, and that is what brought out our 5th caution of the day. First caution that was not a debris caution, and there were a few takers on pit road, but most of the field stayed out. Restart lap 205, and for almost a full lap, Keselowski and Kevin Harvick were side by side. That was probably the longest side by side battle for the lead the entire race. But then 1 lap later, Harvick cleared Keselowski, and then Kenseth actually got himself into 3rd place, passing Kyle Busch. And then lap 100, and then on lap 210, they showed a replay of Kumpler, I guess, getting hit or getting a bump from Ryan Blaney. Kumpler hits the outside wall, and I think later he would come down the road or something, or he would get lapped, and thus resulting in a really poor finish that has now actually caused him to finish outside. Not finished outside. Now he's back outside of the top 16 points again, or just simply the chase grid in general. But anyway, there was also another tire smoker, and that was just an out there. But the thing is, they didn't say anything else after that about whether he came down to pit road or not. So I guess he was just fine. Maybe maybe they came down to the pits, or maybe the tires went away. We have seen it before. Um, and then by lap 220, Kevin Harvick was still leading, and it looked like that Harvick might actually be able to get his first career win since Phoenix, which which even though it's nothing like New Hampshire, it is a mile racetrack, and like New Hampshire, it can be pretty tough to pass on. Lap 234, Keselowski started to reel in Harvick. But to me, overall, anytime Keselowski was the second place car, especially at this stage of the race, he would sometimes gain and lose, and it would kind of happen over and over and over again. Like to me, it was like Keselowski really needed something really not great to happen to Harvick, like Harvick gets out of shape, or Harvick gets a lot of traffic if Keselowski was ever going to have a chance to pass Harvick at this stage in the race. And but then about 10 laps later, lap 246, the final required pit stops of the day began under green flag conditions, and there were a couple of takers, and there were a couple of takers, Martin Truex Jr. and Kyle Busch, and then by lap 251, Harvick actually gets into the back bumper of Elaine Castle, and Keselowski then catches him, but then also at the same time, Kyle Busch with pressure tires gets by both of them, gets by Harvick, so now he's back on the lead lap here, and this would be crucial because then a couple seconds later, the sixth caution came out, and this would be the final caution of the day, I believe. Yes, and it was for possible oil. Now they never showed us the oil, or told us if there was oil, or told us if there was oil. But the thing is, for about like 20 laps, there were people saying that there was possibly oil on the racetrack, and the thing is, because Kyle Busch got by Harvick and Keselowski, he would be back on the lap, and because Harvick and Keselowski and most of the leaders didn't make the pit stops, they would all come up the road, and then the lead would go back to Kyle Busch. Restart lap 258. Kyle Busch pulls away, and then Kenton was trying to take second from Keselowski. It did not work. Keselowski had taken 2 tires. Harvick took 4 tires, so he restarted a little farther back. And it seemed like that throughout the whole entire race, anytime someone took tires, it took maybe a good like 10, 20 laps until the car really came alive, and he could start passing cars. And so Kevin Harvick was passing drivers, and it looked like that, and it did look like that with like 30 laps to go. Harvick could be someone that could catch Kyle right here, but the biggest problem though was that he got stuck behind Joe Logano for almost 20 laps, which would thus ruin his chances of having any shot of winning the race. And then by lap 280, Jamie McMurray was also slow, possibly blowing up, but nothing did happen here. And the thing is, what the reason why this is kind of important is because McMurray, even though McMurray would make even though McMurray is the highest driver in points without a win and has more than a full race gap over 17th place in points, he still does not want to give up any points, because to me, if he keeps on having those bad runs, he will be outside of the top 16 in almost no time. So because of that, it allowed Gordon, Casey Kane, and Newman to all close in on him just a little bit. So that was not good for McMurray. And then Keselowski, once again, he closes on Kyle Busch, he loses on Kyle Busch. He closes on Kyle Busch, he does lose on Kyle Busch. But then all of a sudden, with in the last few laps of the race, Keselowski was starting to make some pretty big gains. By lap 299, it was down to 0.6 of a second. But on lap 299, Keselowski, it was almost half a second between Kyle Busch and Keselowski. But then what happened was that Keselowski got loose in turns 3 and 4, coming to 2 laps to go, and for some reason, it wasn't like Keselowski got loose and started to reel back in Kyle Busch, even though he would not win. He actually kept him falling, which to me, I don't really know like what happened. Like, is it really is it just like that vital at New Hampshire to not screw up? Maybe that's the case. Because I mean, I doubt that something was wrong with Keselowski, because Keselowski almost because by the time Kyle Busch crossed the start finish line, won the race, he almost had a 2-second lead. And so Keselowski went from so because of that, Keselowski went from almost a half a second lead to almost a 2. My goodness. With 3 laps to go, Kyle Busch has almost a half-second lead, and then by the time Kyle crosses the start-finish line, 3 laps later, it's now almost 2 seconds. So that was a little strange to me. But anyway, as I just said, Kyle Busch wins the race, but to me, there was a caution that did come out on the final lap, and so in some ways, this is actually considered to be the final caution. My bad. Alex Bowman hits the wall coming off of turn number 2, probably once again because of a tire failure on the right front, hits the wall, which then officially ends the race. Kyle Busch wins the race. Third win of 2015, third win in the past 4 races. This is also his first New Hampshire win since July of 2006. He becomes now the 12th different winner in 12 races. And also there were a couple of and to me there was at least one notable finish, and that was Austin Dillon finishing in the eighth position, which was good, especially after starting 24. And also there were 3 drivers that also got medical treatment. Now I have not checked since then about it, and so in that case maybe you should check it. But it was Michael Annett, Matt DiBenedetto, and AJ Allmendinger. Michael and Matt had to go to the care center. I guess AJ got treatment right after he got out of his car. And so to me, my best guess was dehydration. It was 90 degrees in New Hampshire when the race was going on, and so in that case, it makes the track temperature. It makes the track temperature and inside of the car hotter as well. So maybe that's why. That's my best guess. And so in that case, that is New Hampshire for you. So thoughts on Kyle Busch winning overall? And overall, I think that ever since it was announced that NASCAR would allow Kyle Busch to be in the chase if he won and got himself into the top 30, it's been a very polarizing topic. Should Kyle Busch be in the chase? And to me, here's my thoughts. I think I said this a couple weeks ago, and maybe last week, but I'll say it again. If in 15 races Kyle Busch can race like this, win races, and just have super strong cars, have a lot of speed, if he can do that in 15 races, and if drivers like Tony Stewart, Austin Dillon, Casey Mears, even like Greg Biffle, if they can't do this in 26 races, then I think that Kyle Busch definitely deserves it, because to me, Kyle Busch had so much success in a short amount of time than what about like half of the field did, as far as the point standings go. So to me, that's why I say that. But to me, also look at Denny Hamlin. He broke his back after getting involved with no severe at Auto Club on the follow up in 2013. And to me, he actually came back to pick up racing a lot more sooner than Kyle Busch did, because I guess the injuries were not as bad. And even though in 2013 the chase format was different, the chase format was different. Denny Hamlin had a longer amount of time, and to me, Denny Hamlin is a championship contender driver that could win a championship. I mean, he's done it. He's almost won the championship on 2 occasions, but yeah, in 2013, he couldn't do it. And so to me, if Hamlin couldn't do it, and Tony Stewart couldn't do it, when Tony Stewart broke his leg, Tony Stewart broke his leg, and even though he would not be racing for the rest of the season, when he came back in 2014, he was still not. It was like something hurt him, and then of course the Kevin Ward Jr. situation as well, I think kind of maybe put him back just a little bit here. So even Tony Stewart has not recovered from injury and tragedy. So to me, if Kyle Busch can do this, and not many other drivers can do it, then I think Kyle Busch does deserve to win. He deserves to be in the chase. That's just my 2 cents. In Kyle Busch, I think that if he continues to finish right around like first place or even just get like a top 10 finish, like 10th place, he could be in the chase by the time we get to like Bristol or Michigan. I think it is possible, and I think that at this point it's safe to say that that will happen. And it might also be kind of safe to say it might also kind of be worth saying that who knows, Kyle Busch could be a championship Final Four threat. Maybe not someone who gets into the Final Four yet, but he could be a threat. And so that is New Hampshire. So I think that the last subjects I want to get into, well, actually, let me do the finishing order first. So here's the finishing order. Get our drink. Kyle Busch first. Brad Keselowski finished second after leading the most laps. Kevin Harvick third place. Loudon fourth place. Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets a top 5. Matt Kenseth slid back to 6th place after the last restart. Carl Edwards 7th. Another nice top 10 and another strong car for him. Austin Dillon in 8th place finish. Gordon finished 9th. And throughout a good portion of this race, he was actually the highest ranking Hendrick driver. Kurt Busch 10th place. Ryan Newman 11th. Ryan Truex Jr. 12th. But Truex Jr. to me was in some cases like a top 5 car. AJ Allmendinger 13th, but to me Allmendinger was a lot more better than that. I think that he was more around like I think that he was more of like an 8th place car. Denny Hamlin 14th, Eric Almirola 15th, Casey Mears 16th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 17th. Reagan slid back to 18th, which to me was kind of a disappointment, especially after a really good qualifying in 3rd place. Casey Kane 19th, but Casey Kane was a lot more higher than that. Tony Stewart 20th, Gilliland 21st. Johnson somewhat of a surprise and disappointing 22nd place finish. Ryan Blaney 23rd. He had a much more better car than that. Patrick 24th, Menard 25th, McMurray 26th, Biffle 27th, Colwood 28th, Orange Steer 29th. 30th was Lancaster, and even though he was running back for him and for that team, I think that to even have a potential top 15 car at some points in the race for a driver and team whose average finish is around 30th place, and whose average running position is also about the same. I think that is what impressed me the most. Kyle Larson, a disappointing 31st. Trevor Bayne 32nd. Brett Moffitt 33rd. Clint Boyer 34th. Matt DiBenedetto 35th. Michael Annett 36th. Eddie McDonald making his second Sprint Cup Series start, I believe. He started in this race a season ago driving for the same team. Timmy Hill 38th. Derek White 39th. Justin Allgaier 40th. Jed Burton 41st. 42nd. Alex Bowman. And dead last was J.J. Yeley in the 43rd position. So that is our running order. And to me, I have it written down in the description. One of the biggest questions, there are probably 2 big questions I still think about, especially after Loudon. Will we get a new winner? And if it does happen, where will it be? Because to me, I think that ever since this new chase format, which was announced back before 2014, I think that I'm a lot more. I think me and I think many other people have focused a lot more about like the winners and like because basically that's what's mostly important. You gotta win in order to make the chase. And to me, we've had a total of 12 different winners, and 11 of them are in the chase. The only one that is not is Kyle Busch, but I think he will get inside the top 30 and then make it 12 drivers in the chase. But to me, when I look at the past 2 races, I see the most recent new winner was Kyle Busch back at Sonoma for I think it was 3 races ago. But now in New Hampshire it is now 4 races ago. But to me, even at Daytona, he had Junior and Johnson right here, and to me, I guess like now because winning is so important to me, I kind of get a little sad as the season goes on, and I kind of felt like I felt like this last season as well about how we don't have new winners, but especially this season where we're already at this point. Where at this point last season, Eric Almirola had won at Daytona, and then he had AJ Allmendinger at this point in the season in the next 2 weeks when at Watkins Glen. So to me, I just think that, like, overall, I just think that, like, the possibilities, especially with, like, the wild cards of, like, I think especially with, like, the wild cards of Sonoma, Daytona, and Kentucky being out of the picture, are we going to have a new winner this season? To me, I think it is possible. But to me, with each week that goes by, and with each wild card event or, like, kind of wild card event that goes by, I kind of am feeling less optimistic about it. Like, to me, like, who has the best chance? Well, based on the points position, I would put my money on Jamie McMurray, and I think that McMurray is probably the only driver. Fine, maybe he's like maybe like McMurray is like one of like a few drivers that could probably win a race based on speed. I think that anyone else, such as Ryan Newman, Menard, Almirola, and so on, I think that the only way I see these drivers winning is if A, pit strategy, or B, fuel mileage. Because to me, a situation where all the leaders wreck in, like, one wreck, that, like, really happens. To me, the last time that ever happened was actually last year's Coke 0400, which that was the race that Eric Almirola won. And to me, I actually would put that as one of my reasons why Eric Almirola won that race, is because he won the race based on the fact about how most of the repeat winners had crashed, and so in that case, it sort of opened up new winners like that. Like, to me, especially with the Daytona being over, it's hard to see any time in the next several weeks of where most of our repeat winners not exactly maybe not exactly get involved in a crash in DNF, but just all have trouble and get poor finishes. So to me, I think that it might take strategy or fuel mileage. And to me, I think strategy is actually something that I think is really going to be important here. Because to me, like, what I would say to a driver like Greg Biffle, Casey Mears, Paul Menard, like David Reagan, etc., do what Regan Smith did in the 2011 Southern 500. He had not let a lap up until late caution for oil on the racetrack because of from Jeff Burton. Most all the leaders come down the road. You decide to stay out, and when you stay out, that might help you win the race. In fact, to me, that's how. In fact, the thing is, I'll make a bold prediction. Our next new winner, or next just first-time winner, or next underdog winner, etc., that's how they're going to win. They're going to win a race based on strategy. They're going to stay out. They're going to take new tires. They're going to do whatever they need to do. But to me, that's how we're going to have. That's where our next new winner will come from, whether it comes in the regular season or it comes in the chase, or just overall next time it ever happens, whether it's this year or next year. And to me, I would like to see a new winner, especially because when you look at the non-winners, I see a lot of good I see a lot of potential for good stories here. Because to me, I think that it would kind of make me sad if 2015 has no first time winner, especially when there are drivers that could get their first career win. But to me, like Kyle Larson, I think that Larson probably has, out of the non-Cup winners, I think that he probably has the best chance at getting his first career win, even though he's run kind of poorly or just dismal in his sophomore year. I think that he has the best chance of becoming a first-time winner. And to me, if I have to say someone else, I don't know, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Danica Patrick. To me, when it comes to drivers that could probably break a large winless streak, Menard, Newman, and Casey Mears probably rank upon the top of my list. And to me, when you look at drivers that currently are in kind of pretty good shape, Jeff Gordon, Casey Kane, McMurray, I think that especially for Jeff Gordon and McMurray, it would make pretty good stories, because to me, Jeff Gordon final season, and McMurray has not won since the fall of 2013. The fall of 2013 Talladega race, and has kind of been considered an underdog throughout his whole entire career. So to me, that's what I have to say about that. And to me, hopefully a new winner comes soon. Maybe it'll come at the Brickyard, which to me, even though the race is going to be called like the Crown Royal whatever the hero's name is. I always like calling it the Brake Car 400, and I'm sure many other fans would agree with me on that. To me, this race is actually kind of more of a wild card than it has been in the past few years, just because of the new high drag package. And for those I don't know what I'm talking about, it was announced. It was announced almost 2 weeks ago that Indianapolis and Michigan will be using a new high drag package. It's not the same package compared to Kentucky. Like this package right here. Here are some of the features: a 9-inch spoiler, which is even bigger than the spoiler that we had last season, which was 8 inches. A 1-inch wicker bill, which for those who may not remember or don't know, wicker bills were used in NASCAR on the restricted plate tracks in the early 2000s, and for the most part, even though they were removed because drivers thought it was a little dangerous, if you go watch those races that had the wicker bill might be some of the best restricted plate races ever. Because a lot of lead changes, it's really easy to do a slingshot move. It's super easy to draft with each other. In fact, I think like the first race to use a wicker bill was the 2000 Winston 500, the same race that Dale Earnhardt Sr. won his final race. I think that race at that time actually had a record amount of lead changes, and I think it probably was because of the wicker bill. So maybe even though Indianapolis is a totally different racetrack, maybe this wicker bill will help increase more drafting here and maybe give us pack-like racing. And also the car, like there's a couple. There are some terms that I'm not exactly familiar with, such as a rear fascia extension panel, however you say that. Basically, I guess to put it in much more basic terms. So overall, 9-inch spoiler, 1-inch wicker bill, and overall the shape of your car is going to be a little bit more like your super speedway car. It's still going to have, I think it's still going to have that 2-inch splitter, but it might be bigger. And it's going to have a 43-inch splitter extension panel, which is bigger than the one that they used in this year's rules package, the 2015 one, not the one used at Kentucky or the Daytona 500. Which that one is 38 inches, I believe. And overall, some of the consequences from this, a decrease in speed by maybe almost 10 miles per hour, possibly. And the thing is, the focuser here is that with these tracks being very high speed, they want to see more drafting right here. So that's why I say we could see pack-like racing maybe. And so in that case, if it can create drafting at a racetrack that is A, kind of impossible to pass, and B, just has racing that is just equivalent to a parade for the most part, in my opinion. I think a drafting would be great. And I think that another good comparison here is that on Race Hub, I think it was 2 weeks ago, saying that this high drag package is actually going to be a lot like what they use in the Camping World Truck Series, which those trucks have a lot of high drag. And to me, in my opinion, I think sometimes the Camping World Truck Series races are the best races of the weekend. So it'll be interesting to see how this works at Indianapolis and then later on Michigan. And now that kind of brings into my discussion of who will win at Indianapolis. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they're having a total of 11 different winners, and I'm going to try to name them all. Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt, Ricky Rudd, Dale Jarrett, Bobby Labonte, Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick, Paul Menard, McMurray. Ryan Newman. Yeah, those are the 11 drivers, and for the most part, it's been mainly Hendrick domination, with Gordon winning 5 races, Johnson winning 4. So to me, I think that this weekend might be the weekend of where the Hendrick drivers or just Hendrick powered cars come back to life and return to the domination that we've seen throughout the majority of the season. But when I look at the average finishes, Larson in his one race finished 7th, but to me, one race does not really count in my book. Jeff Gordon has the best average finish, 8.38, 5 wins, 12 top 5s, 17 top 10s. Tony Stewart has the next best, then Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Biffle, Edwards, Kane, Kaboyer, and so on. But to me, I think that in recent years we had McMurray and we had Menard. If you told me in 2010 that McMurray would win the Brickyard, I would not have believed you. And if you told me that Paul Menard would get his first career victory at the Brickyard 400 in 2011, I also would not have believed you. So to me, I think that in recent years there have been some surprises and some surprise winners. So maybe this is where we see our new winner, and this is maybe where our new winner punches his or her ticket into the chase. Who knows? But anyway, I think that's pretty much it. And so in that case, I hope you enjoyed this race review that's probably over an hour, and I'll see you all next week. Thank you for watching, and be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and bye.